The judge leaned forward across the bench. His voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. Mrs. Coleman, I need you to answer me directly. Why didn't you leave him the first time he put his hands on you? Grace's fingers gripped the witness stand. Her wedding ring caught the light. She'd taken it off 3 weeks ago, but the indentation was still there on her finger, a ghost of what she thought was love. Because I had no papers, Your Honor. Her voice cracked. She cleared her throat and said it again louder. No voice. No way out. Marcus shifted in his seat across the courtroom. Grace heard it. That particular sound of his body moving the way he always did right before he exploded. Even now, even with 15 feet and a bailiff between them, her body remembered. Her shoulders tensed. Her breath caught. The judge picked up a folder. It says here you were married for 6 years. 6 years, Mrs. Okafor. Yes, sir. And in those 6 years, did you ever try to contact the authorities, police, immigration services? Grace's throat tightened. He told me they'd arrest me. That I was illegal. That they'd put me on a plane back to Nigeria and I'd never see America again. And you believed him? The question hung in the air. Grace looked at her hands. He was my husband. He was American. I thought he knew things I didn't. Marcus's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client never prevented. Counselor, sit down. The judge didn't look away from Grace. Mrs. Okafor, I want you to understand something. What happened to you was not your fault. You were trafficked. You were abused. This court sees that clearly. Something broke open in Grace's chest. She started crying and couldn't stop. A woman in the gallery behind her, someone she'd never met, whispered, "It's okay, honey. Let it out." The judge's gavel came down soft. 15-minute recess. Mrs. Okafor, take your time. Before we go any further into Grace's story, I need you to do something for me. If you're watching this from anywhere in the United States, leave a comment right now telling me what city you're in. New York, Miami, Seattle, some small town in Kansas, doesn't matter. Grace spent 6 years invisible. Today we're making her scene. And if you know someone who's been trapped like this, or if you believe every human being deserves dignity, hit subscribe. Because this story doesn't end in that courtroom. It starts there. Now let me take you back to where it all went wrong. 7 years earlier, Grace was standing in her mother's kitchen in Lagos holding a phone to her ear. Marcus's voice came through, tinny and distant. Baby, I can't wait to see you. 2 more weeks. Grace's mother stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. Grace turned her back. Marcus, my mother wants to talk to you. She wants to see where we'll be living. Silence on the other end. Then the internet's bad at the house right now. I'm getting it fixed. Tell her I'll video call next week. You said that last week. Grace, do you want to come to America or not? Her mother's eyes bore into her back. Grace lowered her voice. Of course I do. Then trust me. I'm handling everything. The visa. The tickets. The apartment. All of it. You just need to get on that plane. Grace hung up. Her mother was still standing there. He won't show you where he lives. The internet is broken, Mama. For 3 months her mother stepped closer. Grace, this man is hiding something. He's not hiding anything. He's busy. He works. He's planning our wedding. Then why hasn't he sent money for a proper ceremony? Why does he only want you to come there? Grace felt her frustration rising. Because that's how they do it in America. Small courthouse wedding. It's normal there. Her mother shook her head. Nothing about this is normal. But you won't listen. You never listen. Grace grabbed her bag. I have to go to the visa interview. I'll be back tonight. Grace. Her mother's voice stopped her at the door. If something is wrong, if you need to come home, you call me. No matter what. You understand? Grace nodded. She didn't know that 3 months later she wouldn't be able to make that call. That Marcus would make sure of it. The visa interview went smooth. Too smooth. The officer barely asked questions. Looked at her passport, looked at the invitation letter from Marcus, stamped approved. 90 days. Grace walked out of the embassy and called Marcus immediately. I got the visa. That's great, baby. His voice was flat. Distracted. Listen, I have to go. Text me your flight details. Wait, I wanted to talk about. The line went dead. Grace stared at her phone. Her sister Ngozi came up behind her. He hung up on you. He was busy. He's always busy. Grace, I don't trust this man. Nobody asked you to trust him. Ngozi grabbed her arm. What do you know about him? Really know you met him on Facebook. You've never seen where he lives. His family hasn't called to introduce themselves. What kind of man marries a woman like this? Grace pulled away. A man who loves me. A man who wants to give me a better life. Or a man who wants something from you. But Grace didn't want to hear it. She'd already made up her mind. She was going to America. She was going to be somebody. She was going to send money home and help her family and live the life she'd dreamed about since she was a child. 2 weeks later, she was at the airport. Her mother held her face in both hands. You look so thin. Are you eating? I'm fine, Mama. Promise me you'll call when you land. I promise. Promise me if he's not good to you, you'll come home. Grace kissed her mother's forehead. He's good to me. Stop worrying. She went through security. Turned back one last time. Her mother was crying. Ngozi had her arm around her. Grace waved. They didn't wave back. On the plane, Grace couldn't sleep. She kept checking her phone for messages from Marcus. Nothing. She'd sent him her flight details 3 times. He hadn't responded. The woman next to her noticed. First time in America, yes. I'm getting married. Congratulations. Your fiancé must be excited. Grace looked at her phone again. Still nothing. Yes. Very excited. 15 hours later, the plane touched down in Atlanta. Grace's hands were shaking as she went through customs. The officer looked at her visa, looked at her face. Purpose of visit: getting married. Congratulations. 90 days. Don't overstay. He stamped her passport. Grace walked through the arrival doors, scanning the crowd for Marcus. She'd sent him her gate information. Her arrival time. He'd seen the messages, the little check marks showed he'd read them. He wasn't there. Grace stood with her suitcase and waited. 20 minutes. 30. Her phone had no service. She couldn't call him. People pushed past her, reuniting with families, hugging, crying, happy tears. Grace stood alone. Finally her phone buzzed. A text came through on the airport Wi-Fi. Taking longer than I thought. Wait outside. Arriving in 30. No sorry. No explanation. Just wait. Grace dragged her suitcase outside. The Atlanta heat hit her like a wall. She sat on a bench and waited. 45 minutes passed. An hour. A beat-up Honda pulled up. Marcus was driving. He didn't get out to help with her suitcase. Just popped the trunk from inside. Grace loaded her bag herself and got in the passenger seat. Hi. Her voice was small. Marcus didn't look at her. Put your seatbelt on. He pulled into traffic. Grace waited for him to say something. Welcome to America. I missed you. I'm sorry I'm late. Anything. Silence. Marcus, is everything okay? I'm tired, Grace. I've been working double shifts to pay for all this. All what? Your visa. Your flight. The apartment. Everything. It's expensive bringing someone to America. Grace's stomach twisted. I thought you wanted me here. I do. But that doesn't mean it's not costing me. He switched lanes aggressively. You need to understand something right now. Life here isn't easy. I'm not rich. We're going to have to make sacrifices. They drove for 40 minutes. Grace watched the buildings change. Nice neighborhoods turned into rough ones. Marcus finally pulled into a complex with barred windows and trash in the parking lot. Where are we? Home. You said you had a house. Marcus turned off the engine. I said I had a place. This is it. You have a problem with that? No, I just thought you thought what that you were coming to a mansion. He laughed without humor. Welcome to the real America, Grace. He got out. Grace sat frozen in her seat. This wasn't what he'd described. None of this was what he'd described. Marcus popped the trunk. You getting out or what? Grace followed him up 3 flights of stairs. A door opened on the 2nd floor. An older black woman looked out, saw Marcus and quickly shut it again. Grace noticed. Marcus kept walking. Inside the apartment, Grace set down her suitcase. The space was smaller than her bedroom in Nigeria. Marcus went straight to the refrigerator and pulled out a beer. You must be tired. There's the bedroom. Unpack. I have to go back to work. Wait now, I just got here. Bills don't stop because you landed, Grace. Make yourself at home. I'll be back tonight. Can I have your Wi-Fi password? I need to call my mother. Marcus took a long drink. Internet's out. I'm behind on the bill. It'll be back on next week. What about your phone? Can I borrow it? My minutes are limited. Can't afford international calls right now. He grabbed his keys. There's rice in the cabinet. Figure it out. Marcus wait. The door slammed. Grace stood in the empty apartment and felt panic rising in her chest. She went to the window. Watched Marcus's car pull away. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. She opened her suitcase looking for her phone charger. Her hands found her passport. She should keep it somewhere safe. Somewhere Marcus couldn't. The thought stopped her cold. Why was she already thinking about hiding her passport from her own husband that night Marcus came home at midnight? Grace had made rice and stew from what she could find in the kitchen. He ate without speaking. Marcus, we need to talk about the green card application. The lawyer appointment. He put down his fork. There's no rush. My visa is only 90 days. I know how visas work, Grace. Then when are we filing the paperwork when I can afford it? The lawyer wants $3,000 up front. I don't have $3,000. So you're going to need to be patient. Grace's heart started pounding. What happens if we don't file before my visa expires? Marcus looked at her directly for the first time since she'd arrived. Then you'll be illegal. And you'll need to be very, very careful. The way he said it sent ice down her spine. Like he'd planned it. Like he wanted it. I need my passport. For safekeeping. Marcus stood up. Give it to me. I want to keep it with me. Grace, I'm handling the paperwork. The lawyer needs it. Give me your passport. Every instinct in her body screamed no. But what choice did she have? She was in his country. His apartment. She'd burned every bridge to get here. She went to her suitcase and pulled out the passport. Marcus took it and slipped it into his jacket pocket. I'll take good care of it. He smiled for the first time since she'd arrived. It didn't reach his eyes. That night Grace lay in bed and Marcus reached for her. His hands on her body felt wrong. Possessive. Like he was claiming property. Afterward he rolled over and fell asleep immediately. Grace stared at the ceiling. 3 days ago she'd been in Nigeria with her family. Now she was trapped in a stranger's apartment with a man she didn't recognize. She got up quietly and went to the bathroom. Turned on the shower to mask the sound and cried until there were no tears left. 3 weeks passed. Grace asked about the green card every day. Marcus got more irritated each time. Stop pressuring me. You just got here and you're already nagging. I'm not nagging. I just want to know the plan. The plan is you shut up and let me handle it. Grace stopped asking. She spent her days alone in the apartment. No phone. No internet. No way to contact anyone. Marcus had given her $20 for groceries. She made it last 2 weeks. One afternoon she found Marcus's laptop on the kitchen counter. He'd left it open. Grace knew she shouldn't, but she couldn't stop herself. She opened his email. Searched for anything about immigration lawyers, marriage certificates, green card applications. Nothing. She searched his documents folder. His downloads. His browsing history. And then she found it. A folder labeled Amara. Inside were photos. A beautiful Nigerian woman. Wedding photos. The same apartment Grace was sitting in now. The same couch. The same man in the pictures with his arm around this woman, smiling the way he'd never smiled at Grace. And then a news article. Missing woman Amara Okonkwo, 28, last seen in Atlanta. Grace's hands started shaking. She clicked through more files. Emails from 3 years ago. Marcus telling this woman the same things he'd told Grace. I love you. Come to America. I'll take care of everything. And then the emails stopped. Just stopped. Nothing after a certain date. Grace heard a key in the lock. Marcus was home early. She slammed the laptop shut, but it was too late. He saw her. Saw where she was sitting. Saw what she'd been looking at. His face changed. Something dark and cold moved behind his eyes. Grace. His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. What did I tell you about going through my things? Grace couldn't move. The laptop was still warm under her hands. Marcus stood in the doorway, his keys dangling from his fingers. The sound they made, that soft metallic jingle, would haunt her for years after. I asked you a question. His voice hadn't risen. That was worse. What did I tell you about my things? Grace's mouth opened but nothing came out. Marcus took a step into the apartment. Then another. He closed the door behind him. Locked it. The deadbolt clicked into place. Marcus, I wasn't, you weren't, what, snooping, going through my private files? He moved toward the kitchen. Grace's body went rigid. Because that's exactly what it looks like you were doing. I was just looking for information about the green card. You won't tell me anything and I'm scared and I needed to know you needed to know. Marcus laughed. It was a sound without warmth. Let me tell you what you need to know, Grace. You need to know your place. You need to know that when I say don't touch something, you don't touch it. He reached the laptop, closed it gently, picked it up. Grace watched his hands, the same hands that had touched her 3 weeks ago on their first night, the same hands that had promised to build a life with her. Who is Amara? The words came out before Grace could stop them. Marcus went very still. What did you say? The photos? The wedding photos. Who is she? Marcus set the laptop down on the counter. When he turned around, his face had changed. Something cold and dead looked out from his eyes. That's none of your business. You married her. She's from Nigeria like me. The photos are in this apartment. Grace's voice was shaking, but she kept going. Where is she now? Marcus, what happened to her? She left. There's a news article. She's missing. Marcus crossed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hand shot out and grabbed Grace's wrist. The same wrist he'd grabbed when he came home drunk 2 weeks ago. The bruise had just faded. Listen to me very carefully. His fingers dug into her skin. Amara was a liar. She used me for a green card and then she ran off with some other man. The police looked into it. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. She left. That's it. Then why do you still have her photos? Why do you still have? Marcus twisted her wrist. Grace cried out. Because I'm a sentimental person, Grace. Because I keep memories. Because it's my goddamn apartment and I can keep whatever I want. He let go suddenly. Grace stumbled back against the couch. Now you're going to drop this. You're going to forget what you saw. And you're never going to go through my things again. Understand? Grace nodded. Her wrist throbbed. Say it. I understand. Good. Marcus picked up his laptop and walked to the bedroom. I'm going to work from home today. You stay out here. Don't come in unless I call you. The bedroom door closed. Grace heard the lock click. She sat on the couch and tried to breathe. Her mind was racing. Amara. Another Nigerian woman. Another wife. Missing. Grace looked at her own hands. Were they the same hands? Had Amara sat in this same spot, scared, alone, trapped? Had she tried to leave? Is that why she was missing? Grace stood up and went to the front door. Tried the handle. It opened. She wasn't locked in. Not physically. But where would she go? She had no money, no phone, no papers. Her visa had expired 4 days ago. She was officially illegal now. If she walked out that door and someone stopped her, asked for ID, she'd be on a plane back to Nigeria within a week. And she'd have to tell her mother she'd failed. That she'd been stupid enough to trust a stranger. That everything her family had warned her about was true. Grace couldn't do it. So she sat back down and waited. Hours passed. Marcus finally came out of the bedroom around 8. He'd changed clothes, splashed water on his face. He looked at Grace like nothing had happened. I'm hungry. Make something. Grace went to the kitchen. Her hands shook as she opened the refrigerator. There wasn't much. Some chicken that was close to expiring, rice, a few vegetables. She made what she could. They ate in silence. Marcus scrolled through his phone. Grace pushed food around her plate. I'm going out, Marcus said, standing up. Don't wait up. Where are you going? He looked at her. Do I ask you where you go? Oh wait, you don't go anywhere. He grabbed his keys. Clean up this mess. And Grace, next time you get curious about my past, remember what happened to Curiosity and the cat. He left. Grace sat at the table and stared at her plate. The threat was clear. She'd seen too much. She knew too much. And she was completely at his mercy. The next morning Marcus woke her up at 6. Get dressed. You're coming with me today. Grace sat up, confused. Where? You wanted to know about work? You're about to find out. 30 minutes later they were in Marcus's car driving across Atlanta. Grace watched the city pass by through the window. Normal people going to normal jobs, living normal lives. She wanted to scream at them through the glass. Help me. Someone help me. Marcus pulled up to a large house in Buckhead. The kind of house Grace had imagined they'd live in when he first contacted her on Facebook. Manicured lawn. 3-car garage. Security system. Come on. Grace followed him to the front door. Marcus rang the bell. A white woman in her 50s opened it, already dressed in tennis clothes, even though it was barely 7 in the morning. Marcus, right on time. And this must be. She looked at Grace with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Your cousin, was it? My wife's cousin. Grace. She's visiting from Nigeria. I told you she might help out today. The woman's smile tightened. Of course. Come in. Inside the house was immaculate. Marcus led Grace to the kitchen. Mrs. Whitmore needs the house cleaned before her dinner party tonight. Bathrooms, kitchen, living areas. You'll do it. Grace stared at him. What, you heard me? Mrs. Whitmore will show you where everything is. Marcus, I don't understand. I'm not a, you're not a what? His voice dropped low. You're not someone who needs to earn her keep. You've been eating my food, sleeping in my apartment for 3 weeks. Time to contribute. Mrs. Whitmore appeared in the doorway. Is everything all right? Marcus's face transformed. Bright smile. Charming voice. Everything's perfect. Grace is just a little tired from her flight. She'll get started right away. He left. Just walked out and left Grace standing in a stranger's kitchen. Mrs. Whitmore handed her an apron. Cleaning supplies are under the sink. Start with the bathrooms upstairs. And please don't touch anything you don't need to touch. Some of the items in this house are quite valuable. The way she said it, looking Grace up and down, made it clear what she meant. Don't steal. Grace spent the next 8 hours scrubbing toilets and mopping floors and dusting furniture that cost more than her family's entire house in Nigeria. Mrs. Whitmore came by every hour to inspect, always finding something wrong. A spot on a mirror. A crumb on the counter. Redo it. By the time Marcus came back to pick her up, Grace's hands were raw and her back ached. Mrs. Whitmore handed Marcus an envelope. She did adequate work. Bring her back next week. In the car, Grace finally found her voice. You're making me clean houses. We need money. You need a purpose. This solves both problems. I had a purpose. I was a teacher. I have a degree. Marcus laughed. Your Nigerian degree means nothing here, Grace. You think American schools are going to hire an illegal immigrant to teach their kids this is what you're good for now? Cleaning, cooking, making yourself useful. Grace felt something break inside her chest. This was her life now. She'd given up everything, crossed an ocean, trusted a man who promised her the world, and this was where it had led. Scrubbing toilets for women who looked at her like she was dirt. How much did she pay you? $80. Can I have some? I need things. Soap, shampoo, you can use what's at the apartment. Marcus, please. Just $20. He pulled up to a red light. Reached in his pocket and pulled out a 10. Here, make it last. Grace took the money. $10. For 8 hours of work. She wanted to throw it back in his face. But she needed it. She needed something that was hers. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus took her to clean 4 different houses. Always white families in nice neighborhoods. Always paid Marcus directly. Always treated Grace like she was invisible unless they were complaining about her work. One day Grace was cleaning the 3rd floor of a house when she heard voices downstairs. She crept to the top of the stairs and listened. Mrs. Anderson, the homeowner, was talking to a friend. I don't know about this girl Marcus brings. She's so quiet. Almost creepy. Where's she from? Nigeria. He says she's his wife's cousin, but I don't buy it. I think she's one of those illegal ones. You can tell. Should you report her and lose my cleaning girl? She works cheap and doesn't complain. Hard to find that these days. Grace backed away from the stairs. They knew. Or suspected. And they didn't care because she was useful. Because her exploitation was convenient. That night Grace tried one more time. Marcus, we need to talk about my status. It's been almost 2 months. My visa expired. If we don't file for the green card soon, there's not going to be a green card, Grace. The words hung in the air like smoke. Grace's brain couldn't process them. What? Marcus didn't look up from his phone. I never planned to file. That costs money I don't have. You're more useful to me this way. This way? What way? Illegal. Desperate. Willing to work for nothing because you have no other options. He finally looked at her. You think I married you because I loved you? I married you because I needed someone to clean these houses and I was tired of paying full price. That's it. That's all this ever was. Grace felt the room tilt. You're lying. You said you loved me. You said I said what I needed to say to get you here. And it worked. He stood up. Now you can keep your mouth shut and keep working, or you can leave. But if you leave, I call immigration. I tell them there's an illegal Nigerian woman living in my apartment who refused to leave when I asked her to. They'll believe me. I'm American. You're nobody. Grace's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the couch. What happened to Amara? Marcus smiled. Amara got smart. She threatened to go to the police. Said she was going to report me for trafficking. So I convinced her it was better if she just disappeared. He leaned down close to Grace's face. You want to know where she is? Think real hard about whether you really want that answer. Then he walked to the bedroom and closed the door. Grace sat alone in the dark. She finally understood. She wasn't a wife. She was property. And Amara, the woman before her, had either escaped or been silenced. Grace had to figure out which one, and fast, because her life might depend on it. The next day Marcus took her to a new house. Bigger than the others. The woman who answered the door was different. Black. Older. Kind eyes. You must be Grace. I'm Patricia. Marcus told me you'd be helping today. Patricia watched Grace work. Really watched. Not to criticize, but like she was trying to understand something. Around noon she brought Grace a sandwich. Take a break, honey. You've been working for 3 hours straight. Grace took the sandwich but didn't eat. Her stomach was too twisted. You feeling all right? You look tired. I'm fine, ma'am. Patricia sat down at the kitchen table. Ma'am. You don't need to call me that. I'm Patricia. She paused. Marcus, your husband? Grace's hands went still. Yes. How long you been married? 2 months. Patricia nodded slowly. You just come from Nigeria? Yes. You got family here? Number. Just Marcus. Patricia's face changed. Something sad moved through her eyes. Honey, I'm going to ask you something and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But I need you to hear me, okay? Grace looked up. Are you safe? Are you here because you want to be? The question cracked something open in Grace. Her eyes filled with tears. She couldn't speak. Patricia reached across the table and took her hand. I thought so. Listen to me. Whatever's happening, whatever he told you, you're not alone. You hear me? There are people who can help. He has my passport. He told me I'm illegal now. He said if I leave, immigration will arrest me. That's what they all say, baby. It's a lie. If you're being abused, if you're being trafficked, there are laws that protect you. You can get a visa. You can stay legal. But you have to reach out. Grace shook her head. I can't. He'll know. He always knows. Patricia squeezed her hand. Then we're going to be smart about it. You come back here next week to clean. You tell Marcus I want you regular. And while you're here, we'll figure this out together. Can you do that? Grace nodded. For the first time in 2 months, someone saw her. Someone believed her. Someone cared. When Marcus picked her up, Patricia walked out to the car with them. Marcus, Grace did wonderful work. I want her every week. Same time. Marcus smiled. Sure thing, Ms. Patricia. Whatever you need. In the car, Grace stared out the window. Hope was a dangerous thing. But Patricia had planted it anyway, a tiny seed in the wasteland of Grace's life. She just had to keep it alive long enough to grow. But Marcus wasn't stupid. That night when he dropped Grace back at the apartment, he didn't go inside. He sat in the car and watched her climb the stairs. When she looked back, he was on his phone texting someone. His face was cold. Grace knew something had shifted. She just didn't know what yet. The next week dragged. Marcus barely spoke to her except to bark orders. Clean this. Cook that. Get in the car. Every morning he took her to a different house. Mrs. Whitmore. Mrs. Anderson. A new family in Marietta with 3 screaming kids and a kitchen that hadn't been properly cleaned in months. Grace scrubbed until her hands bled. On Thursday, Marcus drove past Patricia's house without stopping. Wait, I'm supposed to clean for Ms. Patricia today. Change of plans. But she requested me. She said every week. Marcus's jaw tightened. I said change of plans. Patricia doesn't need help anymore. Grace's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Did she say that? I mean I'm not taking you there anymore. Too many questions. Old black women always think they know everything, trying to save everybody. He glanced at her. She asked you things, personal things? Grace kept her voice steady. No. She just told me where to clean. Don't lie to me, Grace. I'm not lying. Marcus pulled over suddenly. They were on a side street, empty warehouses on both sides. He turned to face her. Patricia called me yesterday. Said she was concerned about you. Said you looked tired, stressed. Asked if everything was okay at home. His voice was quiet. Deadly. What did you tell her? Nothing. I swear. She asked if I was okay and I said yes. You're lying. I'm not. His hand shot across and grabbed her face, fingers digging into her cheeks. Don't lie to me. What did you tell that woman? Grace's eyes watered from the pressure. I told her I was tired from the flight. That's all. I promise. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then let go. Grace's face throbbed. You don't talk to anyone about our business. You understand these people aren't your friends. They don't care about you. They're using you just like I am, except they pretend to be nice about it. He pulled back onto the road. Grace pressed her hand against her cheek and tried not to cry. Patricia had been her only hope. And now that door was closed. When they got home, Marcus went straight to his laptop. Grace heard him typing, making phone calls in the bedroom with the door closed. She sat on the couch and felt the walls closing in again. That night Marcus came out of the bedroom with his jacket on. I'm going out. We're none of your business. When will you be back? He stopped at the door. Why do you care? You planning on going somewhere? No, you just what miss me? He laughed. I'll be back when I'm back. Don't wait up. And Grace, don't even think about touching that door. I'll know if you leave. He left. Grace sat frozen. Was he bluffing? She went to the door and looked at it closely. No camera that she could see. No alarm. But Marcus always knew things. Always. She went back to the couch and turned on the TV. Some reality show was playing, people with perfect lives having fake problems. Grace watched without seeing. Around midnight she heard a key in the lock. But it wasn't Marcus's rhythm. Someone was fumbling with it, struggling. The door finally opened and Marcus stumbled in. He wasn't alone. A woman followed him. White blonde, younger than Grace. She was giggling, clearly drunk. Marcus had his arm around her. Marcus, baby, I thought you said you lived alone. The woman's eyes landed on Grace. Who's this? Grace stood up. Marcus looked at her like she was a piece of furniture he'd forgotten about. That's Grace. She helps around the house. Your maid? The woman giggled again. You have a live-in maid? Fancy. Grace's chest tightened. Marcus, can I talk to you? Not now, Grace. Marcus, please. I said not now. His voice cut like glass. Go to the bedroom. Close the door. Don't come out until I tell you. The woman was still giggling, oblivious. Grace looked at Marcus, at this stranger in her home, at the life she'd been promised crumbling in front of her eyes. This is my apartment too. Marcus's face changed. He let go of the woman and walked toward Grace. She backed up instinctively. Say that again. I'm your wife. This is. He grabbed her arm and dragged her toward the bedroom. The woman's giggling stopped. Marcus, what are you? Stay there, Ashley. I'll be right back. He shoved Grace into the bedroom and closed the door. His voice dropped to a whisper, but the rage in it was clear. You want to tell her you're my wife? You want to blow up my whole situation? I will put you on the street tonight, Grace. Tonight. No money. No papers. Nothing. You'll be in a deportation center by morning. You brought another woman here. To our home. This isn't your home. It's my apartment. My name on the lease. You're nothing. You're an illegal immigrant who's staying here because I allow it. He moved closer. Ashley is my girlfriend. She doesn't know about you and she's not going to know. So you're going to stay in this room quiet as a mouse until she leaves. Understand? Grace's voice shook. You're married to me. That piece of paper means nothing. I married you for labor. I keep Ashley because I actually like her. See the difference? Each word was a knife. Grace felt something inside her break that she didn't know could still break. Now sit down. Shut up. And if I hear a single sound from this room, you'll regret it. He left. Locked the door from the outside. Grace heard the TV turn on in the living room. Heard laughter. Heard voices getting softer, closer. Heard sounds she didn't want to hear. She sat on the floor with her back against the bed and covered her ears. But she could still hear them. Still hear Marcus with another woman in the apartment they were supposed to share, the life they were supposed to build. Grace had never felt more invisible in her life. Hours passed. Finally silence. Then Marcus unlocking the bedroom door. He stood there looking down at her. She's gone. You can come out now. Grace didn't move. I said you can come out. I don't want to. Marcus crouched down. You think I'm the bad guy? Let me tell you something, Grace. You came here looking for an easy life. Free ride to America. Green card. You wanted to use me just as much as I'm using you. Only difference is I'm better at it. I loved you. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of me. The American dream. The escape from your shitty life in Lagos. He stood up. Tomorrow I'm taking you to a new house. Family that needs a live-in housekeeper. They'll pay good money. You'll stay there during the week, come back here on weekends. What, you heard me? I'm tired of driving you around every day. This way you work more hours, I make more money, and I get my apartment back for my actual life. I'm not doing that. Marcus smiled. Yes you are. Because if you don't, I make one phone call and you're on a plane back to Nigeria. Except I'll make sure everyone knows why you came back. Failed marriage. Couldn't hack it in America. Your mother, your sisters, everyone in your village will know you failed. He knew exactly where to cut. Grace's worst fear wasn't deportation. It was shame. Facing her family after they'd warned her. Proving them right. The family's name is Patterson. Nice people. Big house in Dunwoody. 3 kids. You'll have your own room in the basement. All meals provided. They're paying me $1,500 a month for you. $1,500, that's none of your concern. I'm still your husband. I manage the money. He turned to leave. We leave at 6 a.m. Pack your things. Grace didn't pack. She sat on the bed and stared at the wall until dawn came. Marcus knocked once. Let's go. The drive to Dunwoody took 40 minutes. Big houses. Expensive cars. The American dream Grace had imagined, except she was arriving through the back door as the help. The Patterson house was massive. White columns. Circular driveway. A woman in yoga pants answered the door. Marcus, and this must be Grace. Come in, come in. Mrs. Patterson was all smiles and energy. She showed them through the house, talking non-stop about her kids' schedules, dietary restrictions, cleaning expectations. Grace followed numbly. And this will be your room. Mrs. Patterson opened a door to a basement bedroom. Small. Concrete walls. A single bed and a dresser. It's not fancy, but it's private. You'll have your own bathroom right across the hall. It looked like a prison cell. Grace will start today, Marcus said. I'll pick her up Sunday evenings, bring her back Monday mornings. Perfect. We're so grateful to have help. It's so hard finding good people these days. Mrs. Patterson smiled at Grace. You speak English right? Grace wanted to scream that she'd been a teacher, that she'd read more books than this woman probably ever had, that speaking English was the least impressive thing about her. Instead, she said, yes ma'am. Wonderful. Marcus, I'll wire the first month today. Same account as before. Marcus shook Mrs. Patterson's hand. Then he looked at Grace. Be good. I'll see you Sunday. He left. Just left her there with strangers in a basement room in a city she didn't know. Mrs. Patterson's smile faded the moment Marcus's car pulled away. Okay, let's go over the rules. You work Monday through Friday 6 a.m. until the kids are in bed, usually 8 p.m. Saturdays until noon. You clean, cook, do laundry, help with the kids. You eat after the family eats. You don't use the front door. You don't have friends over. You don't make personal calls on the house phone. You keep to yourself. Questions? Grace shook her head. Great. Kids get up at 7. Breakfast needs to be ready. Better get started. The first week was hell. Grace worked 16-hour days. The Patterson kids were 8, 6 and 3. They screamed, fought through food. Mrs. Patterson would disappear for hours, leaving Grace with all 3. Mr. Patterson came home late every night and barely acknowledged Grace's existence. On Wednesday, Grace was cleaning the upstairs bathroom when she overheard Mrs. Patterson on the phone. I'm telling you, Kelly, best decision ever. She lives here, so I don't have to worry about her being late. And she's illegal, so she won't complain or quit. Marcus guarantees it. She laughed. I know. It feels wrong, but honestly, she's better off here than wherever she came from. We're helping her. Grace's hands gripped the toilet brush. This was her life now. An illegal servant in a stranger's home, grateful for a basement room and leftovers. That night, alone in her cell, Grace tried to pray. She'd grown up Catholic. Her mother had raised her to believe God heard every prayer. But Grace couldn't find the words. She couldn't find God in this basement, in this life, in this nightmare. On Sunday, Marcus picked her up. Mrs. Patterson handed him an envelope. She's wonderful. Barely says a word. Just works. In the car, Marcus counted the money. See, everybody wins. They get cheap labor. I get paid. You get a roof over your head. I get nothing. You get to stay in America. That's what you wanted, right? Grace turned to look at him. Really look at him. What did you do to Amara? Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. We're not talking about that. She tried to leave, didn't she? She tried to get help. And you stopped her. Amara made bad choices. What does that mean? Marcus pulled into the apartment complex. Turned off the engine. Looked at Grace with dead eyes. It means she threatened to go to the police. Said she'd report me for trafficking, for abuse, for everything. So I convinced her she'd be better off just disappearing. Gave her money. Drove her to the bus station. Told her to go anywhere but stay away from Atlanta. You're lying. Am I? You want to risk finding out? He leaned closer. Here's what you need to understand, Grace. I've done this 3 times now. You're not special. You're not different. Amara thought she was smart too. Another girl before her from Kenya thought she could outsmart me. They all learn eventually. Grace's blood went cold. 3 times 3 wives. All the same story. Promise them America, bring them over, put them to work, make my money. When they get difficult, I get rid of them. Simple business model. Where are they? Marcus smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Grace had ever seen. Does it matter? They're gone. And if you're not careful, you'll be gone too. Maybe back to Nigeria. Maybe somewhere else. Depends on how much trouble you give me. He got out of the car. Grace sat frozen. This man wasn't just abusive. He was a predator. A trafficker. And she was his latest victim. Sunday night, back in the apartment, Marcus got a phone call. He talked for a few minutes, his face getting darker. When he hung up, he turned to Grace. That was Patricia. Grace's heart stopped. She filed a report with some immigrant advocacy group. Said she's concerned about a Nigerian woman being trafficked. Gave them my name, my address, description of you. He walked toward Grace slowly. You told her something. After I specifically said not to. I didn't. I swear she wouldn't file a report for no reason, Grace. Maybe she just suspected. I didn't tell her anything. Marcus grabbed her by the throat. Not choking her, just holding her. A warning. If anyone comes asking questions, you know what you say. You say you're my wife. You're here legally. Everything's fine. You say that, or I swear to God you will regret it. He let go. Grace gasped for air. Pack your bag. You're going back to the Pattersons early. And you're going to stay there until this blows over. I can't have you here if investigators come around. Marcus, please pack. Now. Grace grabbed her things with shaking hands. This was it. She'd been pushed so far, cornered so completely that she had 2 choices: submit or fight. As Marcus drove her back through the dark Atlanta streets, Grace made a decision. Patricia had tried to help. Somehow, someway, Grace would find a way to reach her again. Even if it killed her. Because dying fighting was better than living like this. Marcus dropped Grace at the Pattersons' back door and didn't even wait to see her go inside. His taillights disappeared down the driveway and Grace stood there with her bag, alone in the dark. The door opened. Mrs. Patterson stood there in her bathrobe, annoyed. It's almost 10. I thought you weren't coming until morning. Change of plans. Well, come in. Quietly. The kids are asleep. She closed the door behind Grace. I'm going to bed. See you at 6. Grace went down to her basement room and locked the door. Her hands were still shaking from Marcus's grip on her throat. She sat on the edge of the bed and replayed his words. 3 wives. All gone. She couldn't be number 3. The next morning, Grace was up at 5. She made breakfast, got the kids ready, cleaned up after them. Mrs. Patterson came down at 9, already dressed for her tennis lesson. Grace, I need you to take the kids to the park this afternoon. Wear them out before dinner. Yes, ma'am. At the park, Grace pushed the youngest on the swing while the older 2 ran around screaming. A woman sat on the bench next to her. Black. Maybe 50. She smiled. Those your kids? No, ma'am. I work for the family. Ah. The woman nodded. I'm Sandra. That's my grandson over there. She pointed to a boy climbing the jungle gym. You live around here, I live with the family. The Pattersons. Sandra's face changed slightly. Live in help, yes. You from Africa, I can hear it in your voice. Grace hesitated. Nigeria. My daughter married a Nigerian man. Good people. Sandra watched the kids for a moment. Can I ask you something? You okay? You look tired. Grace's throat tightened. She wanted to scream yes, she wanted to pour everything out to this stranger, but Marcus's warning echoed in her head. If anyone comes asking questions. I'm fine. Just busy. Sandra reached into her purse and pulled out a card. This is my daughter. She's a social worker. Works with immigrant women. She pressed it into Grace's hand. If you ever need someone to talk to. No judgment. Just help. Grace looked at the card. Keisha Williams, MSW. Atlanta Immigrant Women's Resource Center. A phone number. I don't have a phone. The center has a walk-in clinic every Wednesday. 2 to 6 p.m. Address is on the card. Sandra stood up. Sometimes we all need help, honey. Ain't no shame in asking. She collected her grandson and left. Grace put the card in her pocket and felt its weight like a stone. Hope was dangerous. But maybe it was all she had left. That night Grace waited until the Pattersons were asleep. She snuck upstairs and found Mrs. Patterson's laptop on the kitchen counter. Her hands shook as she opened it. Not password protected. Rich people were so careless. She searched for the Atlanta Immigrant Women's Resource Center. Found the address. Wednesday walk-in hours. She memorized it. Then she searched for Patricia's number. Mrs. Patterson had it saved in her contacts from when they'd briefly considered hiring her for a party. Grace stared at the number. She could call right now. But the house phone would show up on the bill. Marcus would know. She closed the laptop and went back to her basement room. Wednesday. She had to make it to Wednesday. The next 2 days crawled by. Grace worked mechanically, her mind racing with plans. Wednesday afternoon she approached Mrs. Patterson. Ma'am, I need to go to the store. We're out of milk and bread. Can't it wait until tomorrow? The kids need it for breakfast. Mrs. Patterson sighed. Fine. Take my card. But be back in an hour. And get receipts. Grace took the credit card and walked out the front door for the first time in weeks. The moment she hit the sidewalk, she started running. The resource center was 3 miles away. Grace ran until her lungs burned, until her legs felt like they'd give out. She didn't care. She'd run until she collapsed if it meant getting help. She found the building. Small. Unassuming. A sign in the window, all are welcome here. Grace pushed through the door. A young black woman sat at the reception desk. Hi, do you need help? Grace couldn't speak. Everything she'd been holding in for 5 months came pouring out. She started crying right there in the lobby. The receptionist came around the desk. Hey, it's okay. You're safe here. What's your name? Grace. Grace Okafor. The woman's eyes widened. Patricia Harris filed a report about a Grace Okafor. That's you? Grace nodded. Okay, we've been looking for you. Come with me. She led Grace to a small office. Within minutes a lawyer appeared. Older woman. White hair. Kind eyes. She introduced herself as Margaret. Grace, I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Grace nodded. Are you being held against your will? Yes. Are you being forced to work without pay? Yes. Has anyone threatened you, hurt you? Grace pulled up her sleeves. The bruises from Marcus's grip were fading but still visible. Margaret took photos with her phone. Grace, what you're describing is human trafficking. You are a victim of a federal crime. Do you understand that my visa expired? I'm illegal. That doesn't matter. Under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, you can apply for a T visa. It gives you legal status based on being trafficked. You can stay in the United States. Grace's head spun. Stay legally, yes. But we need to document everything. Every incident. Every threat. Every person involved. Margaret pulled out a legal pad. Let's start from the beginning. When did you arrive in the United States? For the next hour Grace told her story. Margaret wrote everything down. Names. Dates. The houses Grace had cleaned. The money Marcus collected. The threats. Amara. The other women. Grace, I want to file for emergency intervention. Get you into a safe house tonight. But I need your permission. Grace thought about Mrs. Patterson's credit card in her pocket. She'd been gone almost 2 hours. Marcus would find out. He always found out. If I leave, he'll come looking for me. He won't know where you are. The safe house location is confidential. And we'll file for a restraining order immediately. What about the other women, the ones before me? Margaret's face grew serious. If what Marcus told you is true, they could be in danger. Or worse. We need to report this to the police. Sex trafficking. Possible homicide. Grace felt sick. I should have said something sooner. You were surviving. That's all you could do. Margaret reached across the table. But now you're fighting. And we're going to fight with you. Grace nodded. Okay. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. Margaret made a call. Within 30 minutes a detective arrived. Tall black man. Detective Johnson. He took Grace's statement again, recorded it this time. When she got to the part about Amara and the other woman from Kenya, his face hardened. We've had reports about Marcus Coleman before. Women going missing. But we could never build a case. They'd disappear before we could talk to them. He looked at Grace. You're the first one who's still here. Still willing to talk. He said he'd deport me if I went to the police. He lied. Men like him rely on that fear. It's how they keep control. Johnson closed his notebook. I'm opening an investigation. Trafficking. Fraud. We'll get a warrant for his financial records, phone records, everything. What do I do now? Margaret answered. You go to the safe house. You stay hidden. You let us handle Marcus. And when we're ready, you testify. Grace thought about the Pattersons. About Mrs. Patterson's credit card still in her pocket. I left my things at the house where I was working. We'll have someone pick them up. What's the address? Grace gave it. Then something occurred to her. Wait. There's a laptop there. Mrs. Patterson's. It has Patricia's number in the contacts. And Marcus has been texting Mrs. Patterson. Planning. Coordinating. The messages might be there. Detective Johnson looked at Margaret. That's evidence. We need to seize that. I'll call in the warrant, Margaret said. Grace felt reality shifting beneath her feet. This was happening. Actually happening. She was breaking free. A social worker arrived to take Grace to the safe house. Her name was Keisha. The same Keisha from Sandra's card. My mom told me she met you at the park. Said you looked like you needed help. Keisha smiled. She's got good instincts. The safe house was in a neighborhood Grace didn't recognize. Normal looking from the outside. Inside there were 6 other women. Different countries. Different stories. Same pain. The director, an older Filipina woman named Rosa, showed Grace to a small room. You'll share with Maria. She's from Honduras. Been here 3 weeks. She's kind. She'll help you settle in. Grace set down her bag and sat on the bed. She'd done it. She'd actually escaped. But the fear hadn't left. It sat in her chest like a stone. Maria came in later. Young. Maybe 20. She looked at Grace and smiled sadly. First day, yes. It gets easier. The fear, I mean, doesn't go away, but you learn to live with it. That night Grace couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every car outside made her think Marcus had found her. Around 3 a.m. she got up and went to the common room. Another woman was there sitting in the dark. Middle Eastern. Headscarf. Can't sleep either, the woman asked. Grace shook her head. I'm Amina. Syria. Been here 2 months. She patted the couch next to her. Sit. We can't sleep together. Grace sat. How do you do it? How do you stop being afraid? You don't. But you be afraid and alive. Better than safe and dead inside. Amina looked at her. What did he do to you? Grace told her. Everything. Amina listened without interrupting. When Grace finished, Amina said, he told you about other women? Yes. 3 of us total. Me and 2 before. Then you need to find them. The other women. Because if they're alive, they need to know someone's fighting. And if they're not. Amina's voice dropped. Then you need to make sure he pays for all of it. The next morning Detective Johnson came to the safe house. He had news. We executed the warrant at the Patterson house. Got the laptop. Mrs. Patterson is cooperating. Fully. She's terrified. He pulled out his phone and showed Grace text messages. Marcus to Mrs. Patterson. Keep her working. Don't let her make friends. If she asks about leaving, tell me immediately. Mrs. Patterson had known. She'd known Grace was trapped and she'd helped trap her. Is she being charged with harboring? Potentially trafficking. Depends what else we find. Johnson sat down. But here's the thing, Grace. We found something else. Marcus has a storage unit. Rented under a fake name, but the payment card traces back to him. We're getting a warrant to search it. Grace's stomach turned. What do you think is in there? Johnson's face was grim. I don't know. But men who traffic 3 women don't usually rent storage units for furniture. The warrant came through that afternoon. Johnson called Grace from the storage facility. Grace, I need to ask you something. Does the name Amara Okonkwo mean anything to you? That's the first woman. The one from the photos. We found her documents. Passport. Birth certificate. Wedding license to Marcus. All locked in a box. He paused. We also found a second box. Name Njeri Kamathi. From Kenya. That's the other one. He told me about her. Grace, these women didn't just leave. They left everything behind. No one leaves their passport behind if they're running away. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Grace felt her knees weaken. You think he killed them? I think we need to find them. Fast. Johnson's voice was urgent. Is there anything else he told you? Anything about where they might be? Grace searched her memory. He said he drove Amara to the bus station. Gave her money. Told her to disappear. Which bus station he didn't say. Think, Grace. Did he mention any places, any locations? Then Grace remembered something. A night Marcus came home late drunk. He'd been talking to himself, pacing. She'd heard him say something. A name. Lake Lanier. He said something about Lake Lanier once. I didn't think anything of it. Johnson went quiet. We'll check it out. Grace, you did good. You're saving lives right now. Including your own. He hung up. Grace sat down hard on her bed. Lake Lanier. Bodies turned up there sometimes. She'd read about it in a newspaper at one of the houses she'd cleaned. Please let them be alive. Please. 2 days later Margaret came to the safe house. Her face told Grace everything before she spoke. They found something in Lake Lanier. Human remains. They're running DNA against Amara's profile from her passport. Grace couldn't breathe. Oh God. We don't know for sure yet. But Grace, if it's her, if Marcus did this, your testimony becomes even more critical. You're the only witness we have. He'll come after me. He's already been arrested. We picked him up this morning. Charged with trafficking, fraud, and we're adding kidnapping. If the remains are identified, we'll add murder. Grace's whole body shook. I want to see him. I want to confront him. That's not a good idea. I need to look him in the face and tell him he doesn't own me anymore. Margaret considered this. There's a hearing tomorrow. Bail. You could be there. But Grace, if you see him, if you face him, there's no going back. You'll be committed to testifying. He'll know you're the one who turned him in. Good. I want him to know. The next day Margaret took Grace to the courthouse. They sat in the back. Grace wore sunglasses even though they were inside. She needed armor, even fake armor. Marcus was brought in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked smaller somehow, less threatening, until his eyes scanned the courtroom and landed on Grace. His face transformed. Pure rage. He mouthed something at her. Grace couldn't hear it, but she could read his lips. You're dead. She took off her sunglasses. Stared right back at him. Mouthed her own message. No. You are. The judge denied bail. Considered him a flight risk and a danger. Marcus was dragged out, still staring at Grace. She didn't look away. Outside the courthouse, Grace's legs finally gave out. Margaret caught her. You did it. You faced him and you survived. Is it over? No, honey. It's just beginning. But you took the first step. Margaret helped her to the car. We got the DNA results back this morning. The remains are Amara Okonkwo. She's been dead for 2 years. Grace threw up right there on the courthouse steps. Amara was dead. Murdered. And Grace had been living with her killer. Sleeping in the same apartment where Amara had been trapped. Following the same path Amara had walked. But Grace was still alive. And she was going to make sure Amara got justice. Even if it killed her. Margaret gave Grace water and a tissue. Grace wiped her mouth but couldn't stop shaking. Amara's face from those photos kept flashing in her mind. The woman who'd been there before her. The woman who didn't make it out. I need to meet her family. Margaret looked surprised. Amara's family, yes. They deserve to know what happened. They deserve to know she didn't just abandon them. Grace, that's a lot. You don't have to, I do. I have to. Grace stood up. Her legs felt steadier now. When is the trial? Preliminary hearing is in 2 weeks. Full trial probably 4 months out. These things take time. I'll testify. Whatever you need. I'll do it. Margaret squeezed her shoulder. I know you will. But first we need to prepare you. Marcus's lawyer is going to come after you hard. They'll try to discredit you. Say you're lying for immigration benefits. That you're the one who's illegal and Marcus is the victim. Let them try. That night at the safe house, Grace couldn't sleep again. She kept thinking about Amara. About the moment she realized she couldn't escape. Did she fight? Did she scream? Did she know it was coming? Grace got up and found Keisha in the office doing paperwork. Can't sleep. Grace shook her head. I keep thinking about the woman before me. Amara. Margaret told me. I'm so sorry. Can I ask you something? How many women don't make it out? Keisha's face grew somber. Too many. We save who we can. But some slip through. Some don't make it in time. She looked at Grace. But you did. You're here. You're alive. That matters. It doesn't feel like enough. It is enough. Because you're going to testify. You're going to help put him away. And every day he spends in prison is justice for Amara. For Njeri. For all of them. Grace nodded. Then something occurred to her. You said Njeri. The woman from Kenya. Did they find her too? Not yet. They're still searching. What if she's alive? What if she got away like Marcus said? Keisha's expression changed. That would be a miracle. But Grace, don't get your hopes up. Men like Marcus don't usually let their victims walk away. But Grace couldn't let it go. The next morning she asked Detective Johnson about it. Have you checked bus stations, shelters? What if Njeri really did run? Johnson pulled up his notes. Njeri Kamathi. Arrived in the U.S. 4 years ago on a fiancé visa. Married Marcus 3 months later. Last known contact with her family in Nairobi was 18 months after that. Then nothing. But they never found a body. No. But Lake Lanier is big. And there are other places. Johnson looked at Grace carefully. Why are you so focused on this? Because if there's even a chance she's alive, we have to find her. She could testify. She could help us. Johnson considered this. All right. I'll put out some feelers. Check shelters, immigrant communities. If she's out there, we'll find her. 3 days later, Grace got a call. A woman had contacted the resource center saying she'd heard about the Marcus Coleman case on the news. Said she knew someone who matched Njeri's description. Working at a hotel in Savannah under a fake name. Detective Johnson drove down there that afternoon with a photo. By evening he called Margaret. We found her. She's alive. Grace started crying before he even finished explaining. Njeri was alive. She'd escaped. She'd survived. Johnson brought Njeri back to Atlanta 2 days later. Grace was waiting at the resource center when they arrived. The woman who walked in looked haunted. Thin. Scared. But alive. Their eyes met across the room. No words needed. They both knew. Njeri spoke first, her accent thick. You're the new one. The one who got away. My name is Grace. I'm Njeri. She sat down slowly like she wasn't sure her legs would hold. I heard on the news. Marcus arrested. Trafficking charges. I thought I was dreaming. How did you escape? Njeri's hands trembled as she spoke. He drove me to the bus station like he said he would. Gave me $200. Told me to disappear or he'd find me and kill me. I believed him. I got on a bus to Savannah. Changed my name. Worked under the table. Lived in a room with 6 other women. I was terrified every day that he'd find me. Why didn't you go to the police? Because I was illegal. Because he told me they'd arrest me. Because I was ashamed. Njeri looked at Grace. Why did you? Because I met someone who told me I wasn't alone. And because I found out about Amara. Njeri's face crumpled. Amara. Is she? She's dead. They found her body. Njeri covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. I knew something bad happened to her. Marcus talked about her sometimes when he was drunk. Said she'd been difficult. Said she'd learned her lesson. She looked up. I should have gone to the police then. I should have tried to find her. But I was too scared. You survived. That's what matters. And now you can help make sure he pays. Margaret entered the room. Njeri, we need you to testify. Your story combined with Grace's builds a pattern. Shows this wasn't a one-time thing. Shows Marcus is a serial trafficker. And Jerry looked terrified. If I testify, everyone will know. My family. People back home. They'll know what happened to me. They'll know you're a survivor, Grace said. They'll know you're strong enough to fight back. And Jerry was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. Okay, I'll do it. For Amara. The preliminary hearing came faster than Grace expected. She sat in the courtroom with Jerry beside her. Margaret was at the prosecutor's table. Marcus was brought in still in orange, still handcuffed. He looked directly at Jerry. His face registered shock, then rage. He'd thought she was gone. Out of his reach. The fact that she was sitting there alive about to testify destroyed whatever defense strategy his lawyer had planned. Marcus's lawyer stood up immediately. Your Honor, we weren't informed that the state would have a second witness. The witness came forward voluntarily 3 days ago, Margaret said calmly. The state has every right to call her. The judge looked at Jerry. Ma'am, do you wish to testify in this proceeding? Jerry stood. Her voice was stronger than Grace expected. Yes, Your Honor. I want to tell the truth about what Marcus Coleman did to me. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Grace testified first. Told everything. The promises. The lies. The passport theft. The forced labor. The threats. The discovery of Amara's photos. Every detail. Marcus's lawyer tried to break her. Isn't it true, Mrs. Okafor, that you came to America specifically to obtain a green card? I came to America to marry the man I thought I loved. And when that didn't work out, you decided to file false charges to get immigration benefits number. I filed charges because I was being trafficked and abused. You have no proof of abuse. Just your word against my clients. Margaret stood up. Your Honor, the state has medical records documenting injuries. Photos of bruises. Witness statements from multiple sources. Ms. Okafor's testimony is corroborated. The lawyer switched tactics. Mrs. Okafor, how much money did you make in Nigeria as a teacher? About $60 a month. And my client was paying for your housing, your food, everything. Sounds like you had it pretty good. Grace felt anger rise in her throat. He wasn't paying for anything. I was working 16-hour days cleaning houses and he kept all the money. I was a slave. Objection, inflammatory language. The judge looked tired. Overruled. The witness can characterize her own experience. Then Jerry testified. Her story matched Grace's beat for beat. Different timeline, same pattern. Same promises. Same betrayal. Same threats. The only difference was Jerry had escaped before Marcus killed her. When she finished, Marcus's lawyer had gone pale. There was no explaining away two identical stories from two different women. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Margaret pulled Grace and Jerry aside. He's going to take a plea deal. His lawyer is talking to the DA now. What kind of deal? Grace demanded. 25 to life with possibility of parole. He'd have to allocate. Admit what he did. To both of you. To Amara. That's not enough. It's what we can guarantee. If we go to trial, there's always risk. A jury might not convict. This way he definitely goes to prison. Jerry spoke quietly. I want to hear him say it. I want to hear him admit he's guilty. You will. The allocution is on record. He has to state every crime. They went back into the courtroom. Marcus's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client wishes to enter a guilty plea to all charges. Human trafficking, fraud, kidnapping, and, he paused, second-degree murder in the death of Amara Okonkwo. The courtroom went silent. Murder. He was admitting to murder. The judge looked at Marcus. Mr. Coleman, do you understand that by pleading guilty you're admitting to causing the death of Amara Okonkwo? Marcus wouldn't look at anyone. His voice was barely audible. Yes. And do you admit to trafficking and abusing Jerry Kamathi and Grace Okafor? Yes. Speak up, Mr. Coleman. Yes, his voice cracked. Yes, I did it. I trafficked them. I lied to them. I stole from them. I hurt them. I killed Amara because she was going to expose me and I couldn't let that happen. He finally looked up. Looked right at Grace. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? Grace stood up. What I wanted was to come to America and build a life. What I got was 6 months of hell because of you. So yes, Marcus. This is exactly what I wanted. You in prison. Where you belong. The judge's gavel came down. Sentencing in 30 days. Mr. Coleman will remain in custody. We're adjourned. They took Marcus away. Grace watched him go and felt something shift inside her chest. It was over. He couldn't hurt her anymore. He couldn't hurt anyone anymore. Outside the courthouse, a woman approached them. Older. Nigerian. Tears streaming down her face. Are you Grace and Njeri? They nodded. I'm Amara's mother. She broke down completely. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the truth. For giving me my daughter's body to bury. For making him pay. Grace hugged this woman she'd never met, this woman whose daughter she'd never known but whose fate she'd almost shared. They cried together on the courthouse steps. Amara's mother pulled back and held Grace's face in her hands. You look like her. You sound like her. You could be sisters. She kissed Grace's forehead. She would be grateful. That you survived. That you fought. I'm sorry I couldn't save her. You saved yourself. And you saved all the women he would have hurt after you. That's enough, my child. That's enough. The next few weeks were a blur. Grace's T-visa application was expedited. Margaret filed it with the court records as evidence. 3 weeks later, Grace got the approval. She was legal. She could work. She could stay. She could build a life. The first thing she did was call her mother. The phone rang 5 times. Grace almost hung up. What would she even say? But then her mother's voice came through, familiar and far away. Hello. Grace's voice broke. Mama. It's me. Silence. Then her mother started crying. Grace, is that you? Are you alive? We thought something terrible happened. You stopped calling, you stopped writing. Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. You were right about everything. What happened? My daughter. Grace told her. Everything. Her mother cried. Her sisters cried in the background. When Grace finished, there was a long silence. Then her mother said, You're alive. That's all that matters. You're alive and you're strong and you're free. I want to come home. I want to visit. And we want to see you. But Grace, America is your home now. You fought for it. You earned it. Don't run away from it. I'm scared, Mama. I don't know how to live here alone. You're not alone. You have sisters there now. The women who helped you. The women you helped. That's family too. Grace knew her mother was right. The women at the safe house. Margaret. Keisha. Patricia. Even Njeri. They were her family now. A month after the sentencing, Grace moved into a small apartment. 1 bedroom. Nothing fancy. But it was hers. Her name on the lease. Her key on the ring. She got a job teaching ESL at the resource center. Her first day, she stood in front of a classroom of immigrant women and introduced herself. My name is Grace Okafor. I'm from Nigeria. I've been in America for almost a year. And I'm here to tell you that you belong here. No matter what anyone tells you. No matter how scared you are. You belong. After class, a young woman approached her. Hispanic. Nervous. Bruises barely covered by makeup. Miss Grace, can I talk to you? Grace recognized that look. That fear. That desperation. Of course. What's your name? Maria. I'm from Honduras. I came here 6 months ago with my boyfriend. He promised to marry me. But now. She started crying. He won't let me leave. He took my passport. He says I'm illegal. He says no one will help me. Grace took Maria's hand. I need you to listen to me very carefully. He's lying. There are people who will help you. I know because I was you. 6 months ago I was trapped just like you are now. You were, yes. And I got out. And you will too. Grace pulled out her phone. I'm going to call someone. Her name is Margaret. She's a lawyer. She saved my life. She's going to save yours too. Maria gripped Grace's hand. You promise? I promise. No woman gets left behind. Not anymore. Grace made the call. Margaret answered on the second ring. Within 2 hours, Maria was in the safe house. Within a week, she had a lawyer and a case file and hope. And Grace realized this was her purpose now. Not just surviving, but making sure other women survived too. 6 months after Marcus's sentencing, Grace sat in her apartment and wrote in a journal. She'd started keeping one at Keisha's suggestion. A way to process everything. A way to remember. She wrote, they asked me in court why I didn't leave him sooner. Like leaving was a choice. Like I had freedom when I had no papers, no money, no power. They don't understand what it means to be trapped in plain sight. To be invisible in a country full of people. But I'm not invisible anymore. I have a voice now. I have documents that say I belong. I have a life that's mine. Marcus got 25 to life. He'll be eligible for parole in 25 years. By then I'll be 60. And I'll be at that hearing. I'll look him in the eye and remind him of every woman he destroyed. Amara. And Jerry. Me. All of us. People ask me if I regret coming to America. If I wish I'd stayed in Nigeria. And the truth is complicated. I regret trusting Marcus. I regret the pain. The fear. The 6 months of hell. But I don't regret surviving. I don't regret finding my voice. I don't regret learning that I'm stronger than I ever knew. America wasn't my dream. It was Marcus's lie. But I'm making it my truth now. One day at a time. One woman saved at a time. My name is Grace Okafor. I'm an immigrant. I'm a survivor. I'm a teacher. I'm a fighter. And I'm still here. Grace closed the journal and looked out her window. The Atlanta skyline stretched before her. Somewhere in this city there was another woman trapped like she'd been. Another Maria. Another Grace. Another Amara who might not make it out. But Grace would keep looking. Keep fighting. Keep saving. Because silence had almost killed her. And she refused to be silent ever again. She picked up her phone and texted Keisha. Any new cases? I'm ready to help. The response came immediately. Always. Meet me at the center tomorrow morning. There's a woman from Ghana. She needs someone who understands. Grace smiled. Tomorrow she'd meet another sister. Another survivor. And together they'd fight. She was done being a victim. Done being invisible. Done being afraid. Grace Okafor had come to America looking for freedom. She'd found hell instead. But she'd walked through that fire and come out the other side still breathing, still fighting, still standing. And that in the end was the truest American dream of all, the freedom to save yourself when no one else will and the power to lift others up once you've made it through. She had survived. She had won. And she was never going to stop fighting for women who couldn't fight for themselves. That was her promise. That was her purpose. That was her life now. And it was enough.